Hello, hello, all. Thank you so much for joining the Inkwell Exchange again this week. We are so excited. Very, very shortly. I'm so excited for you all to meet this dynamic author, actress, spoken word artist. She was amazing. She's one of the first people kind of I met when I started getting back into the creative scene in Dallas. And I found it so difficult to figure out how to navigate that space, right? I had just come back from being in Paris. It had taken me so long to try and looks like she just joined us. Let's make sure we can get her camera on and in here. But it was so hard to try and be a new creative in that space. Not really sure how any of it was supposed to work. I hadn't done any of my spoken word work for such a long time, and it felt scary, to be quite frank, to get on the air again or get on the stage again and share work. And I think poetry is a very vulnerable art. It's some of the most vulnerable writing you could do because it's so short and impactful and quick. And a lot of the stories, because they're so short, it's hard to hide the pain points. And so I'm really looking forward to getting her on here to be able to talk about all of that great work that she's been doing and how she's been able to make the most of being a part of the scene. And here she is.
Hi.
How
Hello.
are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I am so good. I'm so glad to see you. How are you?
I am wonderful. I am wonderful. Good to see you too.
Yes, yes. So me and you have been partners in crime for a little bit.
Yes.
And I'll let you introduce yourself to everybody, and then let's go from there.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Azahar. I'm a poet and author. I'm a mother, a wife. I also teach a social and emotional intervention class at the local high school here in Mansfield, Texas on Wednesdays. I've gotten a little bit into acting, so I also do that with commercials. And I'm a creative. So that's pretty much what sums me up.
Yeah, so I guess my initial question to start us off is really just what made you decide to go ahead and make the leap and flex your creative muscle, like completely as a big part of your career. You have so many different types of creative muscles you're flexing.
Mm-hmm. What made me take the leap, just to go fully head in first, is just family and friends really encouraging me. I know I always I remember saying years ago, oh, I want to have my own book one day. I'm going to be an author. And my husband was like, you can do that. Like, quit talking about it, just do it. And so he actually helped me with also Michael Gwynn, just directed me into the path of a publisher and just getting that started. But what fully got me into just doing everything else is just me really praying and asking God to just, show me what it is that he wants for my life. I've always had the passion or the heart to want to act, but I just never had the courage really to do it. And different things that's been happening in my life, you see people dying, or you see people, even friends, taking off in their careers, and I'm like, I can be doing more. And so I just took a leap of faith and just went head first in, and God's been blessing me. He's really been creating opportunities for me ever since. So
Yeah, so I think probably one of the main forms, I think we have a little bit of an echo, but one of the main forms of creation that you kind of work with is writing, right? So you do spoken word and poetry, and you have a book. So, like, one, tell us a little bit about the book. Tell us about the process of getting it published.
But also tell us a little bit about your writing process and what made you finally make that leap.
Okay, so my book is Uninterrupted Thoughts, and I have it right here. And this, of course, is my very first book. The process behind this is actually just a collection of poems that I've written over the years. I thought, what smarter way to actually save my work and protect it than to get the older poems that I have written. I have a lot of newer ones that are not even in this book. I have so many, but I decided that that would be the best way to protect my older work. So I actually had that work published first. And the process behind it, to be honest, it wasn't that hard. I thought it was going to be so difficult because at first I was going to self-publish. And then my husband said, no, I want to get with someone who actually knows what they're doing and that's going to be able to really guide us. And so he spoke with Michael Gwynn. Of course, we all know him. And he told him, like, hey, how can we get my wife's book published? Do you know someone? So Jazzy Kitty Publishing is who published my book. And my nephew actually did my cover. That's my silhouette. And he added the butterflies and the title and the background. I love butterflies. And that's how it was. Now, having to make sure, the poems were appropriate for the book. I because there were some poems I left out intentionally because one, I wanted to put them in a book, in a second book. I do plan to write a second book, but I intentionally left some poems out because I felt like it didn't necessarily go with the flow of this first book. There are a lot more mature poems that I have written that necessarily wouldn't have been appropriate for this book, I would say. But just honestly, just having the poems already written, most of them were already done. And so it was easy for me to just be able to send them to the publisher for her to be able to publish them.
I love that. I think there are 2 points that you jump on that I definitely want to dive deeper into. One is the importance of a community and a network in being a full-time creative, right? And exercising all of that creative work. I feel like we could go on about this man a bazillion times, but let's talk a little bit about Michael Gwynn, right? And like, the part he's played, I think, for both of us, right?
Yes.
In introducing us to the scene and helping us grow in that scene. I'd love to hear how you met him, and then I'm happy to jump in and mention some of the other people that have kind of helped along this road.
Yes. So how I first met Michael Gwynn, my husband and I, this was about 2 years ago, I want to say now. We were looking for something to do for Valentine's Day. And so we found through Eventbrite, there was this thing at Create Arlington. He was hosting a Valentine's Day, like open mic or whatever. And my husband said, hey, and I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, it was on a Sunday. And my husband was like, hey, let's do it. I've never performed live. And so he thought, actually, I take that back. I have, but not at the capacity of what Michael, provides. And so my husband was like, let's just do it, give it a shot. And so I remember going in, I remember just seeing just how warm and inviting he was and just how he just set the atmosphere for all the poets. I was nervous, I'm not gonna lie, because I really at that time didn't do much open mics. And so he was just really encouraging. He had all the people in the room to just kind of support one another, clapping, giving feedback about the poetry. And I got up there and I did a couple of love poems. And I mean, from there, he had invited me out. I want to say this was to be a feature. Yes, the next time he asked, would I be a feature at Create Live? And so I did that, I want to say, for Women's History Month. And yes, and so that was my first feature. He gave that to me. And then just meeting everyone, I met Lady D. I want to say I met KT, Miss Vicky, Viola. I met her. I used to work with her at Humana, my old job, health insurance. And so I already had known her, but it had been a while since I'd seen her. I didn't even know she did poetry. So just to see someone that I've worked with before and to see her in that light, it inspired me as well just the community of everyone just embracing me, embracing one another. It was wonderful.
No, I love that so much. I think I'll dive into how I met Mike Gwynn. And for context, people who don't know this amazing man, he's a big trailblazer out in the Dallas Fort Worth space. He creates a lot of what do you call it, welcoming environments for new creatives to start and to share their art. And I met him when I was 13 or so. He came to one of my, I guess, what are those things called? Like summer camp type things. It has a workshop on poetry. I had been writing poetry for a while, but I never performed it. And he held a mini slam. I won that. And then we lost touch. I didn't see him for a while. And when I got back to Dallas after I finished college, I realized that I was still following him on a lot of stuff, and he had these events, and I was like, I should give it a try. COVID's over. Let's go. And I think that was the beginning. And from there, he's really encouraged me to nurture my art. But it also taught me the importance of having a community. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I started this Inkwell exchange, was simply that creatives need a fostering and nurturing community that can give them that feedback that they can share with and be vulnerable with, and it be free from judgment. So we have a Facebook group now, which is great. Everybody can, answer polls, take on writing prompts, share what they do in those writing prompts. And that makes it really great. But honestly, all of it was inspired by the spaces that Michael Gwynn has created in real life, and making that kind of a virtual space. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about was your mature work, right? I think as creatives grow and change, their work grows and changes. So I have been working on a book myself of poetry that has also been a push from other people to get me to publish it. But I think one of my hardest challenges with that is I've been trying to pluck out the pieces that I don't think fit me anymore, that I wrote in high school or before that. And either my worldview has shifted some, or my writing style has shifted some. And any way they come, it feels immature. Some of those pieces. And I think I struggle because I still think they're good, right? And I still think there is an audience for them, but they don't feel like they fit who I am now. And so talk us through your decisions and your journey to actually create, to pick which poems go with that particular collection.
Okay, so the journey for me was just more of one, some of the pieces that really, really meant a lot to me. Like there's a poem in there that I wrote about my mother, and it's called Missing You. That was the very first poem I wrote about her death. There's another poem when I was in a abusive relationship called Love, and I wrote that. And I wrote a poem in college called Black, just describing, just the color black, and then basically, black is me and stuff. And so basically, give me a second.
Yeah, take your time.
I apologize. My daughter just came home, and I don't have a quiet space in here, so I'm so sorry. So I just didn't want y'all hearing all that. So what really, really helped me is just to pick the poems that really resonated in my heart, and that meant that I wanted to show people, like, okay, this is who I am. This is where I was. This is what I've been through. And so it wasn't that hard to pick the pieces that really, really meant something to me. There's a few poems in here that I've written for my father. He works with youth, and I have one called Youth Against Violence. And so those poems really stood out because they were special. They meant something. And also just having someone else be able to use those for their work, because my dad, he does public speaking as well, but he goes and also recites poems that I write for him sometimes. So I did that as a way to just protect my work, not saying, protect my work, but also to, I don't know, it just, they meant a lot. And I don't know, it's a lot of, every poem that I have in here means something to me. So yeah. I couldn't, the other ones, not saying they didn't mean as much, but these meant the most to me. So these were what was going to go into this book. And as far as like the maturity thing, as far as like now, some of these poems are not where I am in life at this moment, but this is just a reminder of the grace of God and the things that I may have went through. And it's just a sweet reminder that, okay, this is where I was at one point in my life. Now my new book, when I write it, is going to be where I am now, and as you stated, like your thought process, your views may have changed, things you may have gone through, we grow. And so I think that it was very important even to put the butterflies, you have a caterpillar here, you have like the cocoon, excuse me, and then you have the caterpillar, and these are the different stages, the metamorphosis. And so that's me. That's how I feel like I've evolved in life, and I'm still evolving. So
yeah, well then let's dive in super quickly to, how do you write poems? Like, where do you start? I know you write like haikus every day, but how do you start? How do you start writing poems?
How I start, honestly, there's times where I feel like, I don't know about you, but I've had moments where words just come to me and I'm like, oh, I just start writing it down, because if I don't write it in that moment, I'll lose it. There's poems I've written in 10 minutes. Sometimes it just comes to me in an instant and I have to write it down. And there's times where I sit there and I draw inspiration. Maybe I see something on Facebook, or someone's, that's close to me has been dealing with, some kind of issue, depression, death, or whatever. So I draw inspiration all around, but a lot of times it will come to me. And there's times where, I kind of look and sit back and I'm a feeler. And so a lot of times when people that I'm close to feel things, they're going through a rough time, it affects me. And the only way that I can get that out is to write it down. And so sometimes I'll write a poem and it doesn't even have to do anything with me. And I've had people say, oh, I'm so sorry you dealt with that. And I'm like, no, that wasn't me. They'll private message me. And I'm like, that was, I'm sure someone can relate. And I don't know if you've seen that where I've posted before. At times I'll say, this is not my story, but I'm sure someone can relate. I do that now because people have thought that what I write about, that's pertaining to me. And that situation may not necessarily have been about my situation. But that's what I do. And then there's times where, of course, I get hit up, someone will ask me, hey, can you write a poem for church? Or can you write a poem, for this person's birthday, or whatever it is? And I'll, kind of get some information about that person and then do my research and write from there as well.
Yeah, I think commissions are the hardest.
Yeah, yes, it is. Because it's like, are they going to like what I write? And if they're going to perform it, we all perform our poetry differently, right? We have a certain flow of how we write. Not everyone's going to read it how you write it. So that's another issue as well. So
I completely agree. I've been definitely scared from people because, like, in high school, I wrote about child soldiers and domestic violence. And because those are the things I was learning about, they interested me. And that was the only way I knew how to process feelings, was to write them, make them metaphors. My therapist likes to tell me that there's a certain dissociation that comes with that. But that's the only way that's the coping mechanism I've created.
Mm.
I can deal with absolutely anything if I can make it into a metaphor. It just makes it more meaningful to me. And so I think a lot of the ways we write poems are similar. I think I've lost some of my best poems because I've written them in my head, and when I write them down, they don't come that way. Oh yeah, somebody asked, I hate that. Somebody said, did you say therapist? Yes. Huge fan of like mental health. If you need therapy, do it. Go forth and take charge of making yourself feel well. People will say a stage is therapy or poetry is therapy. It is not. It is a method of coping in the moment or releasing.
I agree with that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's some of the ways I write as well. I think one of the biggest things that come with trying to write differently. Ooh, somebody said that they called that their therapist and life inspired them to write "Help Me See Your POV." It's a song. Yeah, I think songwriting is also extremely difficult art.
Yes.
I think I met somebody the other day, not exactly in line with songwriting, but they were a broadcast journalist.
Wow.
And he was saying, yeah, writing is so much harder. The improv is easier. I was like, no, not at all. They're just different skill sets. I think the improv is just as hard.
No, it is. It is.
Have you ever tried weaving songs into your poems?
I've tried it, and it did not necessarily flow. And you know what? I've actually had a couple of people ask me, do you write songs? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, sometimes the ways, you know, I guess the poems that they've read from me kind of flow like songs. But I mean, I'm sure just like with writing poetry or anything, writing songs, you know, may not always be that easy. You know, you have to have a hook. You have to have, you know, certain things that kind of make up the song. And so I just, it's difficult sometimes. Even with writer's block.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think the closest I've come to something sounding musical is a poem with a refrain.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's got like a piece in the middle that repeats. I thought about asking someone to sing those pieces for me because I can't carry a tune at all. But it's never come to pass yet, so maybe one day. You mentioned writer's block. Let's talk about it. How do you deal with it? Because I've gone years without writing.
Woo! With my writer's block, my husband has actually purchased me some books that help with that. So they'll give you writing prompts, you know, different things like that. Also, I draw inspiration from you, from, you know, Maya, Michael, whoever, like people that I'm close to. Sometimes I'll YouTube and just watch like an hour of just spoken word to kind of draw just that, you know, energy and that the creativity, because I feel like when you stay connected with creatives, it in turn iron sharpens iron, and it makes you creative, you know, in a sense as well. It helps to strengthen you. So I just draw inspiration from all around. Some days I'll just look, you know, and try to write, and I'm like, oh, I can't think of anything. But then when I start watching a video or even listen to music, things just start coming to me. So that's how I, you know, combat writer's block.
I love that. We had somebody talk about they've taken poems and added them to a random beat. I love that.
Hey.
I have also used YouTube as a huge tool away from writer's block. I'll go to sleep with like button poetry on, and just to try and make myself feel the flow of words again.
Yes.
To get inspired by how certain words just resonate in my mind, how they flow with the tongue. I've tried another method for me with writer's block has been turning to a writing prompt and like forcing it, and it's always bad. but
you're doing it.
Yeah, and it unblock. I feel like the same way that you like take a pen and you mark it on a piece of paper and it looks
Yes.
terrible for a really long time, and then all of a sudden it writes clean.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a metaphor I would use as far as me getting over writer's block.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, no, I want to thank you so much for joining us, for having this conversation with me. It's been really, really great. I want to
Yes.
make sure that people know how to support you. That's one of the biggest things we do here is we support creatives. So
Mm.
we're going to do our quick fire just like we did with our previous guests. How can people support your work?
You can support my work by going to Amazon and purchasing my book. It's Uninterrupted Thoughts, Alicia Azahar. You can also private message me. I am on Instagram under uninterrupted_thoughts. And you can also see just some of the work poetry I've done. I also have clips and little videos of some of my commercials that I've been in, different things like that. So you can kind of get to know me, get a little sense of who I am. Also, Barnes and Noble. You can go to Barnes and Noble and Uninterrupted Thoughts as well. I'm on there. And I do have a blog. I haven't written anything in a while, but I have about 50 blogs that I've written from, I believe, last year on back. And so it's on WordPress. I wrote it down so I wouldn't mess it up.
Yes.
It's uninterruptedthoughts.business.blog. Or if you follow me on Facebook, Alicia Azahar. If you look where my profile is, you can look on my backstage link. You can see different things that I've done, and you can actually get to my blog that way as well. So
I love it. Hi, Angela. So happy to meet you that you're here. Both of us know Angela. I actually didn't meet her till she came to create Arlington.
Angela's so wonderful. I've been knowing her for about a year or so now. So yes.
She's great. I love it. Maybe one day she'll join us here. She's also a fellow writer.
Yes.
She's doing a big plug there. Please come join us. So, yeah, but I think those are all great ways. Please, if you're tuning in either now while we're live or later, please go and support Alicia. She's a great artist. I've read her poems. I've heard her work. Even if you just scroll down her timeline and like everything, every little bit helps. Since we're talking about the stuff that's needed to be a full-time creative, it's people supporting your work.
Yes.
So that is a huge part. And if you need a nurturing writing community, please check the link in my bio. Join us at the Inkwell Exchange. Not only can you become part of these panels, which is great, we'd love to hear about your experience and journey writing, but also please make sure that you participate in like the little activities we have. We give you space to promote your books, your events. We want to be as engaging of a two-way community as we can. And so I want to thank everybody for listening in, popping on, all of the comments, all of the engagement. It's been super helpful. If you have any questions or suggestions for future panels, want to be a part of a panel, there's a link in my bio for that too. So hurry on over and stay following me so that we can have more of these types of conversations. Thank you so much, Alicia. I will give you back the rest of your Saturday. I can't wait to continue being a part of our talk. We'll have to have you come back and participate in some other panels too.
Yes, and it'll be a little quieter this time. I'm so sorry. But I just honestly, all seriousness aside, all jokes aside, I definitely want to thank you for creating this space. That means a lot, just to have someone just, with your knowledge, your wisdom, your talent to create a space for other creatives to be able to share their work and just have these candid talks and stuff. I love it. And just to be able to shine light on what we do. It's not always easy to share our work. It's sometimes, we are our own worst critic, but just to know that we have other people to support us, to love on us, to encourage us, like, hey, you got this, you're wonderful, even to, you know, make us better. You know, I'm glad and I'm blessed to know you, and I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to share my work. So I just wanted to thank you again for this. It means a lot. It does.
Of course. And I want to definitely thank you for coming on, but I also want to thank all of the creatives that have tuned in. Like, this is super important for us to be able to continue to do these. This is only our second one, and so I'm still just so grateful that I've been able to have this space.
Right.
It's been awesome. So thank everybody. Thank you everybody for coming in. Continue to walk in your purpose. And go forth and conquer the rest of your week. You got this, just like Alicia said.
Yes. Well, thank you, and I'll see y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.